from Blue Rose Sen. Then Carnarvon, followed by Never Ending Story, and Holly Doyle has dropped out Nashwa in last place in these very early stages and will be a good 7 or 8 lengths behind the leader, which is above the curve in the hands of Ryan Moore. Blue Rose Sen and Al Husn racing almost together, then Never Ending Story in the pink jacket, the inside of Carnarvon, and 2.5, 3 lengths back to Nashwa. Racing up the hill and on towards the final 6.5 furlongs, and above the curve leads the way. Al Husn is a close second, and then Blue Rose Sen round the inside Carnarvon, and they're followed by Never Ending Story, and Nashwa is still the back marker. About to turn right-handed at the highest point on the race course, and then the race will really begin in earnest, running on down the hill towards the home straight, and above the curve, who's had a pretty soft lead here from Al Husn in second, Blue Rose Sen in behind in third, on the inside Carnarvon, then Never Ending Story and Nashwa. About to turn round the final little right-hander, and here's where it's about to unfold, and it's above the curve by a length to Al Husn, now getting closer. Blue Rose Sen on the inside as they race towards the cutaway. Carnarvon and then Never Ending Story, and Nashwa is still at the back of the field. Blue Rose Sen went for the gap up the rail, but the door was closed by Ryan Moore on above the curve, and it's above the curve and Al Husn. Blue Rose Sen has got to get out of trouble over there from Never Ending Story, and then Carnarvon, and here comes Holly. Holly's coming down the outside on Nashwa, and Nashwa really picking up, and Blue Rose Sen is imprisoned on the inside as they race down to the final furlong. Above the curve Al Husn, Nashwa storming down the outside, needs to find a little bit more, then Blue Rose Sen. They race into the closing stages. Al Husn from Nashwa and Blue Rose Sen, and it's Al Husn further Group 1 glory for Shadwell and Jim Crowley. Al Husn has won the Nassau. From above the curve, Blue Rose Sen looking unlucky. Nashwa never quite reeling them back.
She upset Nashwa at Newcastle. She's upset Nashwa and Blue Rose Sen and above the curve today in the Group 1 Nassau Stakes. What a fine week it's been in the main for Jim Crowley. His second Group 1 after King George's success on Hookham. He's won this one in those Shadwell silks for Shaker Hissa and Roger Varian. A bold move to come to the Nassau, but a move that they were forced to do really, because this filly was making strides so rapidly, always out of trouble to the outside, attending what was just a pedestrian pace set by above the curve. And Al Husn it is that has won. Aurelien Lemaitre has had a trip that he'd like to forget on Blue Rose Sen. He tried to dive down to Ryan Moore's inner when the cutaway came. Ryan was saying, no, you don't do that. And then he had to wait and sit and suffer. Admittedly, she didn't pick up instantly, and Nashwa just sidled into the race, and she just didn't really pick up. Whether that's ground or whether she's been poorly positioned in a race that's been slowly run, I don't know.
Yeah, lots to pick out here. The straightforward one was Al Husn. She's had a bus of a ride right on the outside of a steady gallop set by Ryan Moore and above the curve. She's had the plumb position all the way through the race, given pretty much the optimum ride and optimum position to get a clear run, get a clear shot at things in clearly what was a pretty messy race. Blue Rose Sen is a bit of a hard luck story, I think, up the inside. I know she didn't pick up immediately, but she's not had daylight pretty much all the way up the home straight, and Aurelien Lemaitre has had a nightmare right the way up that home straight from the 3 furlong pole, really. But when you haven't ridden Goodwood before, it kind of shows, and I think it has there.
I didn't feel that she was picking up the bridle quite as she sometimes does, Blue Rose Sen, prior to that.
No, she probably didn't quicken as we've seen her quicken on a few occasions in the past, but she had no daylight. The race was very messy, wasn't it? I think Nashwa's tried to come from a tough spot at the back. She made up her ground quite quickly and easily, but ultimately, above the curve and Al Husn have dictated this race, and they've had first run.
And it's wily Ryan Moore and nearly as wily Jim Crowley. Yeah. 2 local boys, Sussex, Goodwood's their backyard. They've ridden a million winners round here, and they've absolutely got this spot on.
Yeah, they've both got it spot on, really. Above the curve's had every chance. She's just not quite able to hold off Al Husn on the day. But Nashwa and Blue Rose Sen both with excuses on the day. I don't think Nashwa is quite as devastating on ground as tacky as it is this afternoon as what she is when it's a little bit quicker.
Group 1 glory for Jim Crowley again. Incidentally, the exact amount of permitted strikes with the Pro Cush there. 6 for Jim Crowley.